Are you maximizing the storage in your workshop? I don't think I am, so I'm gonna try to fix it. Well, maybe this will help you too. I need some cabinet drawer storage. It needs to be customizable, flexible. I probably need some removable containers or dividers. And I think I'll make the entire thing out of MDF because, well, I got that already and I don't feel like going to the store. I want to go with simple joinery, so I'm going to do some rabbet joints. I put a ripping blade in my saw. It has a flat tooth, that means I'm going to get flat cuts. And I set the blade height to about half the thickness of my material. To know how far in I should cut my rabbet, I just grabbed a piece of scrap that's the same thickness. I put it on the end of it, placed a mark, so I know I need to cut that much away. You can do this with a dado stack. I typically just use a regular blade for this and make multiple passes. Just kind of sneak up on it until I get the fit that I want. While I had the ripping blade in the saw, I went ahead and cut a channel for the bottom panel, which is 1/2 inch thick. I know I could have probably got away with using like 1/4 inch. However, this is something that's not just gonna sit like in a drawer. It's a tray, I'm gonna move it around a lot. It's gonna have stuff inside it. I want it to be durable. I don't want it to potentially sag, so it's gonna be beefy, but I like it. All right, I'm gonna take this whole dude, glue them all together, and then after I get it how I want, I'm gonna reinforce that with some dowels. So I'm gonna drill some holes in each one of the corners, hammer in some dowels. That's gonna strengthen it up. This thing is gonna be rock solid. I want my storage to be as flexible as possible. In order to do that, I'm gonna use this T-track, and I can put that in here, and then I could have dividers, and those can move back and forth, and I can put as many dividers as I want to create as many rows as I want. One of the good things about T-track is it's aluminum, so we could use regular woodworking tools to cut it. You can use a regular blade for this. I did put a metal cutting saw blade in because I don't want to dull my everyday use blade. I'm gonna treat this just like I'm cutting a regular board. I'm gonna use my miter gauge, I'm gonna set a stop block, and I'm gonna cut 2 pieces of T-track to fit inside my storage. I installed the T-track in my tray, and originally I planned to have track on opposite sides so I could have a divider that goes back and forth. But I'm kind of designing on the fly, so I decided to put it on all 4 sides, but I did leave myself gaps in each corner. That way I could take like a nut or a bolt and slide it onto the track so I don't have to actually remove the track to add the bolt and then put it back down. Not the end of the world, but you know, not really user-friendly. I think the next step is I'm gonna make a divider. I think I'm gonna cut a rabbet on each end. There's no point in measuring. I could just use an offcut from the T-track, mark those lines on my divider and cut the rabbet. Then the divider will lay flat on the tray, but that rabbet will allow it to slide over the T-track. I'm planning to hold the divider in place just using some 1/4 inch bolts and hex nuts. I want those bolts to be countersunk though. I don't want them to be pronounced off the divider because my plan is to put a board or a tray or something on top of that, and it's gonna rest on top of the divider, and well, I want it to be stable. I don't want it to be sitting on top of a couple bolt heads. Cool, I got a divider, so that works. Now, I told you I want to have that panel or board or whatever sit on top of the divider, but I don't have anything else for it to sit on top of, so it's just gonna, like this. So what I need to do is put something to stabilize it. So this is what I'm thinking, is in the corners here, where I've got the T-track and I've left that space, I can make little L brackets. This is easily done over the table saw with really just 2 cuts. And because I'm dealing with a small piece, I'm gonna use a whole bunch of double-sided tape and stick it really, really good to my miter gauge. And then I can make a cut, peel it off, rotate my piece around, make another cut, and voila, I have a big L shape. Just like the divider, I'll drill some holes for bolts, and I'll make sure that they're countersunk so those bolts are down below the surface. How pretty is that? That's awesome. And whenever I put it against my T-track, it's the exact thickness. So I can take little containers or whatever I need, and I can put it right up against that T-track, and these are not gonna be in the way at all. They're absolutely perfect. I'm pretty happy with them. Now I need little cups or buckets or whatever for storage to go in here. I think I'm gonna go with 1/4 inch thick MDF. These don't need to be super substantial. They're little buckets, so you're gonna hold pieces of wood or a tool, like an X-Acto knife or something like that. I'll use the table saw for this. I'll cut some rabbets on the ends, so those pieces will fit together. Then I think I'm gonna cut a rabbet on the bottom inside face of each one of those little boxes or trays. Then I can cut a small piece of MDF for the bottom and glue it into place. And that's gonna strengthen the whole thing up. I'm really digging this. Now I can put my pieces this way, or I can turn them sideways, or I can just take them out and put them wherever. I'm liking it. All right, now to maximize my space, I want to put a board that goes all the way across here so it can rest on these little dishes, it can rest on the divider, on the corner brackets. So I'm gonna get some 1/4" MDF, cut it to size so it fits inside my tray. Then I could put stuff on top of that, or I could remove it and get access to everything underneath it. My shelf fits into the tray, but I gotta have some way to pull it out. So I'm gonna drill a couple holes on either side, that way I can stick my finger or my thumb in there and I can easily grab it and remove it. Very cool. Over on the sides, I have some T-track, and that's for maximum flexibility. That way I can go back and add different compartments if I want to. But, random idea, I'm gonna make some adjustable dividers that go along one side over here. I'll cut a series of notches halfway up to long pieces of MDF that fit in the tray. I'll cut some short pieces that have little tongues on each end, and those will fit inside the notches. This is gonna be repositionable, so I'm gonna have a bunch of those. I can move them around to whatever I want, make my compartments different sizes, or just remove them entirely. This is really good for those tools that you need in the shop, but you probably don't use them every day. I can put this in a drawer and then put more commonly used items on top of that. But that's probably not how I'm gonna use this. I plan to use my tray mainly for scroll saw stuff. I've got all those little dishes that I could put little pieces in there. I've got sections I could put my templates, and I always put my artwork right here on top. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Big thank you to the Super community over on Patreon for allowing me to keep the lights on and make videos like this. And to meet again, get in your shop and build something awesome.